Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode 293. And I'm here with Aadil.
Whee!
And returning Lucy.
Hello.
Hey.
Sick bed.
Back from the dead, almost.
Practically.
Has been a couple of
Felt like
weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I imagine being sick and being in bed and lying around, you've played every video game in existence.
No, complete opposite.
I had a
That's
feeling
how you
that
know
might
I
be
was
the
sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you know. Nothing.
Good. Feeling better now, though?
Yeah, much. Thank you.
Good. And Aadil, how are you, mate?
I'm great, I guess. The electricians are in. So I had a messed up day of being in and out of my room. But you know. I also didn't play. Oh, a spoiler! I didn't really play a lot of games.
Okay.
They've been in all week, and so I've been like, I should have just played game. Instead, it was like, I'll try and do work. Oh, now I'll try and do work in the kitchen. Oh, now I didn't get enough work done, so I feel like I should work, and for 2 days straight. And like, I didn't get to do first looks this week because electricians were supposedly gonna be around. They weren't. I mean, they were, but like, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, so I think basically me and Aadil are just trying to shorthand say, like, you're going to be doing the talking, Ben.
That's fine. That's fine.
Resident.
I mean, I did a lot of the
Residences.
talking last week, so I feel okay.
And that's fine.
I have nothing good to say.
You'll probably, make up for it in beers for me this week, because I've only got the one after my brother and I drank all of my beers apart from this one over the weekend. So it will kick into beers, and it's just one for me this week. I'm drinking Good Chemistry's Deep Thought, which is a cacao and tonka stout, 6%. Lovely pink can. Everything on the little percentage wheel all knocks in almost exactly the same percentage, 42%.
Of course.
For everything.
It's a Deep Thought
exactly.
is a
yes.
Hitchhiker's reference, right?
So hoppiness, maltiness, bitterness, sweetness, all 42%. A big, rich stout full of roasty, chocolatey malts, enhanced by judicious additions of cacao nibs and tonka beans. Theory: young sloths are so inept that they frequently grab their own arms instead of tree limbs and fall out of trees. And this pairs with life, universe, and everything.
Yeah, I watched a sloth documentary. Several months, a sloth-umentary a couple months ago. That I don't know. I don't think there was any sport on that day, so it was like 1 p.m. on a Saturday, and I was in tears because the poor baby sloths were just falling out of the trees, and they think it's a vine. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh no, and then
They just look back up.
save them.
Do they fall in slow motion? Like everything's
just
so
gonna
slow
ask.
to them,
Yeah.
but so they just like straight out the tree. And their instant reaction is, huh? Boomf.
Poor things.
Oh,
Yeah, and they
dear.
climb on like electrical lines and stuff like that. 'cause they're lines and-
Yeah, I have seen that before. Lucy, we'll move away from sloths. What are you drinking?
Yes, please. I am going to start with a beer from Birmingham Brewing Co., which I haven't had in a while.
Yes,
and
the
this is-
BBC.
Yes, the BBC. And it's the Blonde Brummie, which is 4.4%. Small little 330ml can. Does it have any flavour? Caramelized British floor malts, resinous British hops, and a complex bittersweet finish. So all British malts and all British hops, and that's about it, really. Yeah, probably can't see the can because of my lighting,
No,
but yeah.
incredibly difficult to see the can. Just
Yeah, it's got a lamp on.
yeah. Nice. Aadil, what are you cracking into?
Whoop, that's the wrong one. You were on an Arbor kick, and I don't think this was one of them.
Okay.
But I didn't check. I meant to beforehand, and then I just sat here and forgot. But I don't believe you had the Texas Sunday Morning, did you?
I have, but I don't think I
Like
drank
on the
it on
pod,
the
I mean.
pod. Yes.
Yeah. It's a hazy India Pale Ale, or a HIPA. Not to be confused with hippos. Hazy IPA brewed with plenty of Amarillo, accompanied by Citra and Idaho 7. It's a 1 pint can, 6.5%. It's a lovely. I mean, I've never been to Texas on a Sunday morning, but it's a really nice sort of crack of dawn, very simple aesthetic with the purple blue at the top going into like through the reds and the orange just by the arbor leaf on the bottom. Very nice looking can. You had the bling can the other day. They've been doing. I like the variety, but still basically just being like a color scheme, our leaf and our big name, but like very different looking. Dig it. But yeah, that's what I'm cracking into.
Brilliant, nice. We'll roll back around then to this Deep Thought from Good Chem. It did pour with a much bigger head than it has at the moment, which has dissipated really, really quickly, leaving just a little bit, which laces to the glass quite nicely, but sits down a little. Has a lovely full nose. Lots of chocolate, lots of roasted dark chocolate on there. Now, let me straight away, even at 6%, nice medium body. It's not too thin, it's not too thick, but it comes through with that flavour mimicking the nose really, really well. So it does hit you straight away with a lot of dark chocolate, roasted malts. It's got this tiny touch of sweetness in there. Like it's almost it's really, really light. And I think if you weren't kind of looking for it, if you were just sort of like you hadn't read what this was, you saw Deep Thought and it was just on keg somewhere, and you went, yeah, cool, I'll have it. I fancy stout, I'll have one of those. You might miss it, and it may come through a little bit more as I drink it after these kind of big initial roasted, bitter, chocolatey kind of flavours. But there's a nice little sweetness in there as well. And I don't know whether that's what was in this, cacao nibs and tonka beans. What's giving me that little hint of sweetness, which is just sort of buried under everything else?
Buried or berry?
Nah. Definitely not the fruited kind.
Is it like a vanilla type sweetness?
It's not, which is why I can't really it's not like the tonka. It's not kind of sweetness coming through from a vanilla sort of flavour, but maybe it is. Maybe that will kind of unfold more as I drink it. Just in that initial flavour, it's kind of just deep down in underneath kind of everything else. But
sounds like you need to have a deep thought about it.
Licorice, molasses.
It's a little bit, yeah. It's got a little bit of sort of a molasses taste to it as well, and kind of all of that leads very nicely into this lovely lingering bitterness as well. It is quite a dry beer, but it's just wet enough that even with that nice chocolatey bitterness that sits on the end, I can just sit here and let it go and not worry and go back to the sort of the beer thinking, oh, I need to refresh my palate. It's just a lovely, long, lingering chocolatey bitterness. And that's pretty much it at the moment. It's doing kind of some big flavours. It hits you with them, and that's kind of it. It sort of sits very, very nicely. So it'll be interesting, because I've got this for the entire episode, to see how quickly I drink it, firstly, but also to see what comes out of it as my palate adjusts slightly. And it might not help. I did have a rum about half an hour ago or so. So that might, yes,
sugarcane,
it may just be the sweetness from that is kicking through. But I think there is something in there. So we'll see as I get through it, drink it more, and if that sweetness does come out, or if I've just ruined my palate completely for the evening. Lucy, we'll come to you for the Blonde Brummie.
Yeah, it poured a really nice head, probably about 2-finger white head. It's very murky. It's got a light amberish caramel look to it. But yeah, like you could have fooled me. Like you could have said that there was like Czech Pilsner malts in this, because yeah, it smells like a classic, lager.
Yeah.
Rather more so than what I'd expect from like a blonde beer, but it's got a lovely like moorish bready smell to it as well. A slight bit of, like a hint of like lime or something like that in it. But yeah, it smells great.
Nice. It does look lovely as well. It's sort of, it is a lot darker than I would have thought a blonde,
a blonde
would have been. Yeah.
Is it the yellow in your lighting, or does it have a
No,
coppery tone to it?
It's genuinely. It probably looks a bit thicker from there, from where you're seeing it, but it is genuinely that color.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a bottle blonde joke, but it's a can blonde.
It is.
Doesn't work. You know, because bottle blondes aren't really blonde, but they call it. It doesn't matter.
I'm not really getting where the blonde is coming from in this. It's very much reminding me of just like a traditional lager, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a very, very different style.
But a nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. They do like a Brummie lager, which I haven't had in ages, to be fair, but if you put that in this in that can, wouldn't have been able to tell the difference probably. I don't get how this is a blonde ale. But it is genuinely a really nice kind of lager. It's very crisp. As I said, it's got a very moorish, bready, malty taste to it. That's really nice, and that's what's coming through the most. And it's got a long bitter finish, so it's got all the characteristics of like a, just a normal Pilsner, or just, but not a blonde.
Could this have been mislabeled?
Yeah, I was just saying, when you said if they had put this in the other can, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm like, did they put it in the other can?
Quite possibly. But yeah, it's a strange one, but it's a really nice beer that I'm enjoying. As I say, it's very crisp, very refreshing, and it's just a really good lager / crossed with a blonde ale hybrid. But weird one, but really enjoying it.
Okay,
really
well, I mean that's good.
Ultimately, that's what counts.
Yeah,
yeah. It's really light and just really drinkable. It's got a slight bit of hoppiness in it. As I say, that like malty breadiness is really good, and nice bit of bitterness on it. So yeah. This won't last long. It was a smaller can anyway, but it's just a really nice beer.
Nice. Perfect. Good. Aadil, we'll come to you then for the Arbor.
Yes. It poured with almost no head, which is great because it poured right to the brim. It looks identical to after I poured it.
Yeah.
It's very hazy. Like you can see shadows, not really even. Bit of a straw, slightly gold color in person, maybe a little more orange than it's going to show up on the video. But even just holding it here, like not even trying to nose it, I was getting lovely, bright, zippy citrus. It's slightly tart undertone. That's why I think it's citrus. But like think sweeter, maybe. Yeah, not quite tangerine, but like navel orange, like a nice ripe navel orange, with a bit of tropical undertones. Delicately sip the over poured beer. Ooh, it's nice and thick.
You can't kind of be very delicate when it's that full. Keep it away from all electronic goods.
Or I just do the usual thing and spill everywhere. You can tell the 6.5% is giving it a really nice, almost creamy thickness to the mouthfeel, but also creamy just in the fact that like that navel orange sweetness is there first. So it's giving it, you're hitting that thickness and that sweet citrus first. before the tartness comes in. So I think it just makes it feel full-bodied and a little, like I said, creamier. It's it's really good. I'm really enjoying this. I'm almost at a loss for words. But for the sake of the podcast, I won't be at an actual loss. I really like. It's very clean in that zippy citrusy in the start, and most of the taste. But as that fades away, you're getting this really rich, hoppy finish. But again, not very strong. So there's still that sweetness lingering, but just enough to be like, ah, yes, beer. It's an ever so slightly pininess to that bitterness, but mostly it's just yeah, just like a light citrus, not even grapefruit, just a nice like low key bitter that just sits on the palate. Yeah, there's a very deceptively simple beer, I think. Like as in like, I talk about taste curves sometimes. This is a very simple curve with a couple main phases, if you will. I'm now abusing my own terminology. But it's just really tasty. The transition's really light. If it wasn't for that thick creaminess, you could easily be just totally not think this is like a 4 or 4.3% sort of standard beer. I'm glad it has that creaminess because it's making sure I take the sips a little smaller, and there's so much of that burst of citrus with slight tartness and then like fading away that you don't need a lot of the beer in your mouth to get that taste, and it's really refreshing and really rewarding. So I'm glad that creaminess kind of is discouraging bigger sips, because I don't think just because it's such a simple taste curve, I don't think taking bigger sips will get you any more than smaller sips in a beer like this. I think if you want that taste, small sips are gonna do it. But again, because it's also a short taste curve, I mean, the finish lasts a while, but it's nothing like, if you want that sort of sweetness, you're just gonna have to go back. So that's probably also good that small sips are enough. Yeah, it's really tasty. I mean, Arbor, as Ben's been talking about the past few weeks, have been knocking it out of the park. I think the last little while, I've just like I said, even to something nice and simple. You can taste the Amarillo, the Citra, and the Idaho 7. They're all kind of working together. It's a uniform, very clean, clear taste curve. Nothing's muddled. It's just enjoyable.
Yeah.
Nice. Just as an aside, I looked at like Untapped for this beer just to see if it was like the same color. Just the easiest way to tell. Yeah, I think this is the right beer. It's just it doesn't quite fit the description. But as I said, like if you put this on cask and it was a hot day or not even that, it's just like a really good drinkable beer. I could have several of these. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just like I'm in the mood for, a lager, a lager blonde ale, or it's just caught me right tonight. But yeah, I really enjoy it. So, and it doesn't have that kind of like metallic taste that you can get in some lagers. It's just really nice. So yeah.
Yeah, I also tried to jump on Untapped, and that's when I noticed that Untapped, like, no one says anything anymore. It's just numbers and the odd picture. I was like, oh, I wonder if Lucy's, because I was like, oh, maybe it's, if this is a different beer, I'll check how Lucy described it against how anyone else described it. And I scrolled down 2 pages.
Yeah.
And didn't get a single person saying anything. Except one guy replying to another guy being like, I see you got that. Sorry I missed you. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
this is more social network than beer tasting? What is going on?
Yeah, like there are so few like descriptions nowadays. I use it just as my own personal database. Like, I had this beer and I either liked it or didn't like it, and it's like because I forget which beers I drink, not because I drink so many. So
there are so many.
Yeah, I wish there was a way that maybe there is a way to like make. I thought about this, like making my profile private, because it doesn't help anybody. Like just putting 3 stars on this beer. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help the brewer. It doesn't help other people. So I was
Well,
wondering.
it kind of does.
Yeah,
The
maybe I should
aggregates matter.
look into that. True. But I was thinking of just not rating them, but then I'd actually have to write about them, and sometimes I'm just like, oh, maybe I can't be asked to go into this. Maybe I just want to, for the record books. It's like, oh yeah, I had that beer, and I remember. I think the best is when probably not when I'm having beers at home. It's probably when I'm at somewhere. That's more of a memory than
right.
Like, oh, I was at this particular pub, or at this time of the year and stuff like that. So that's a bit of like memory jogger than just maybe just checking into it at home.
Yeah,
but
checking into your Christmas party beers last year, and those kinds of things.
You can make your account private, then it will only show updates to friends, and you can just unfriend everyone on your list.
Oh, okay, I might do that then. Yeah, I'll keep friends, whoever they are. I
think I have an account. I think I've used it less than 5 times.
Yeah, I might just make it private then in that case.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But the thing is that I hope I speak. I hope for most people who are using the app who don't look at it for the scores, and just just for reference, like this, was it the same color? Is it the right beer? And just not, oh, I'm not going to drink this beer because someone voted it 3 stars, my mate, or most people voted it 3 stars. It's like, I think most people drinking craft beer and enjoying it are just like, they know that, the merits of tasting it for themselves and having that experience themselves, rather than for people think everyone's different.
I don't know whether we've had this conversation before. I feel like we have, in terms of using something like Untapped to kind of like review beers versus the gaming industry and game reviews and things like that, and how a lot of sites, the game will go to kind of one person who has played that, and someone might edit their review, but that's mostly not the editor playing the game as well and then kind of corroborating or discussing the points that they've made. It's more just editing the text that they have kind of put forward, or asking for more explanation and those kinds of things. Whereas something like Untapped, yes, it is a more like Metacritic, where they're gathering everyone's reviews sort of together. But on something like Untapped, without any of that explanation, with it just being a 4 out of 5, a 2 out of 5, or whatever they throw up, and a picture to say, yes, I did, here is that beer that I did drink, it's sort of one of those where it's almost worse taking that than it is for beer makers, than it is for developers going to individual reviews and going, okay, the game wasn't, say, to this person's tastes, so they've only rated it like this, but we know that it's competent in these areas. Going to the next review, this person loved it because they love these kinds of games. Okay, we take that with a bit of a pinch of salt and see what they said about it. For a brewery going onto Untapped and going, well, they've rated our beer as a 3. It's average, out of all the beers, but no one said anything about it. Did they rate it a 3 because they didn't like how grapefruity it was? Did they rate it a 3 because they didn't like the colour of it? These kinds of things. It's almost the worst place to be. Those kinds of sites and places like this where you can rate and review beers, but you're just saying star, photo, done. It's meaningless, absolutely meaningless.
I think the brewers will probably get their feedback from the people coming to the tap room, and
you'd hope so.
Yeah, rather I just feel it's more as a useful tool for like, oh, I like this beer. Where is it on? I see brewers more so using it for like that purpose, like updating what they have on at their tap
like
room,
actual physical network, geographic network.
Yeah. I'd imagine they use it more for that rather than pull it any kind of like scores. It's not like, and let's be real, like a pint is probably like what, £7 at most in most areas, and a video game is £60, and the aggregate scores are not fed back to the publisher or
Yeah,
whoever
sure.
is selling the
Yeah.
beer and say, look, this is how good or bad our beer is.
Oh my god, I
So,
just thought of the most horrendous, and I'm sure there's some fucking tech asshole thinking about this, but imagine a craft beer pub that just their shtick is they give you the top 10 untapped beers. Every week they refresh. And they're like, we're the best in the world. We trust
I
social network
imagine
aggregating.
They don't make
some of
enough
like the
Pliny for
macro
that, do they?
companies. I imagine some of the macro companies, if like people are making like small batch or something or trying a new beer, I bet they do look at that. Like, this is how many people enjoyed it on Untapped. We're not buying any more liters of this beer because 2 people gave it 1 star.
We're not at 100% hit rate.
yeah. They'll be like, we didn't reach our KPIs, and just shoot yourself in the head. And just be like, yeah, I don't like beer.
And I can see, hopefully that's, I think it must be a couple of years ago that we had this conversation at least. If we even did, I'm pretty sure we have.
We have definitely had this conversation. It's worth, touching back on just to see what the state of that app is. I feel, I know you two don't use it. You two have absolutely dropped off of that. I just don't think people, in our spaces use it for that kind of thing. I think, people listen through word of mouth or just knowing breweries or just wanting to taste things. So.
And I think it's also a little bit maybe to do with like drinking habits. I would imagine a lot of people fell off the app kind of when the pandemic kicked in, not going out to the place X and drinking the beers there and rating them and those kinds of things and talking about them, not going out with your mates so much to sort of share beers and things, and then maybe getting back into it, getting beers in at home and all of those kinds of things, using it a little bit kind of more again, and then maybe people starting to get back into it now that they're going out a little bit more. But again, it's probably more like if the 3 of us went out for a beer and we all sat there and went, this is this, blah, 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 we're more than likely to go on Untapped and go, abridged version of what we've just said, put a photo, put a photo of Aadil with his beer, put some thingies on, kind of done. Rather than me popping out with Kim, having a couple of drinks, be like, hang on, pause the conversation. We just need to go on Untapped very quickly and put in all of this information. It's kind of that situational thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unlike, very differently, game reviews, which people are paid or just through wanting to put some thoughts and things out there, kind of invest a little bit more time in to put together. So.
Yeah, paid as in part of their jobs, not paid by
publishers.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Just
Microsoft have just spent £1 billion and Halo's only got up 4.
Just in case some sad fanboy quotes, this snippet of this unknown podcast and saying, look, they paid for Halo reviews.
Oh mate,
but,
I bet that you before we get into sort of me talking about Resident Evil. Lucy, you let us know. There's a very excellent anecdote from you on the Halo, just the Halo Reddit or the Halo Infinite Reddit.
Please enlighten us a bit.
I can't remember what day. I think it was Monday. And I was just like, I was like, oh, the Halo reviews are up. Oh, okay. I think it was over the weekend. Where they had to lock the Halo subreddit because people were being toxic about a free multiplayer game. It wasn't even about the single player game, because it was before the reviews came out. It was about the free multiplayer game. Like, all I've heard about this multiplayer, which I think came already installed on my Xbox.
Oh, really?
It's the Halo box. It's the Halo box, so it's like, I think it was pretty. Anyway, because it came out on the same day the multiplayer launch, so I guess that makes sense. But all you hear is people bitching about it. And the subreddit, full of lovely people, comparing it to 343 to like Nazi Germany by not having all the game modes in it.
Like all the ones promised, or just the ones this asshole wanted?
it isn't singular at all. It's plural. But,
Yeah, I just meant.
No, because I think it's a case of that Halo's always been, it's been a stalwart in terms of like multiplayer. It's always had many modes and stuff like that. And I think everyone knows this game came out hot.
Yep.
They delayed it a year, so it's like it's not going to have all the features at the beginning. And guess what? It's free. So it's like how people are this entitled. It's not like they even paid any money for it. Just
I mean, didn't they though?
mind.
Because they wouldn't have bought an Xbox X.
I imagine like most of these people are playing on PC.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I imagine it's the really toxic PC people who like played Halo back in the day on Xbox, original Xbox. These are grown ass, let's be real, men. All just complaining.
Well, obviously they're men. They're gamers, Lucy. Women don't play games.
I'm glad we've got the only
Bejeweled, and that's not a real game.
The only woman who plays real games is right here on our podcast. That's it. No more, obviously.
To be fair, I played a lot of Bejeweled in my lifetime, but
the hate on that game is hilarious. It's like, oh, it turns out a lot of people like this game that can be played on many things. Yeah, it's a clearly a puzzle game. It's got some strategery, some randomness. Boah, bish bosh bam. Nope. It's like the poster game for toxic people to get mad at. And also I doubt most people even play it anymore. I mean, I play it because I want that 5 points on my Xbox mobile app for my
That's what I was about to say. Not one person hasn't played Bejeweled on their Xbox 360, so stop lying to yourselves, gamers. But yeah, it's just sad to see. It like it sounds like the game's good, which is more than I ever expected from it. I thought it'd just be a little bit more fun Crackdown, but it seems like it's more than that. So Crackdown 3, that is. But and people are just upset. I don't get it. It's like it's a free game. It's like, how can you be entitled about anything? Nobody owes you anything in this world, especially Microsoft. So it's just like,
I mean, even just the idea that they're like, I have played Halo, so I know what Halo should be. It's like, yeah, but this is a new one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's different. I am kind of like on this, and something I thought was actually really good. I got an email from Microsoft last week asking me to fill in a questionnaire about Age of Empires 4.
Okay.
Which I did. I fully went through this and gave kind of not detailed thoughts, but a few sentences for each of the questions. Asking me about my experience and why because I said yes, I have not played for for a while now. Picked it up for a bit and then put it down and told them why and all of these kinds of things. That makes sense. Give your feedback in a constructive kind of way, and
the people who are asking for it.
Well, yes, the people who are asking for it, but also there's been plenty of places like official forums and things to do this, but in a much more constructive kind of way. On various forum sites don't really exist in a kind of a way that they used to. In terms of being like, here is a game site's forums, and here are the different threads and rooms and whatever for different parts of said game, where they can say, here is where we want you to give us your feedback on this. But there'll be places that you can kind of do that in a much more, critical if you need to be, but constructive kind of way, rather than just Halo is not Halo I want.
Yeah. So some people were being, constructive in their feedback as well, but it was just a sad case of that always got drowned out by people just being absolute cretins. So yeah, it is a shame, but nobody knows more about the shortcomings of whatever that multiplayer game is more than 343, and they have probably. I mean, I think they've voiced many times that they're committed to adding all these things. There's going to be seasons and stuff like that. So
yeah,
and I think people are just angry about there's cosmetics in the game. It's like, don't buy them because.
Oh, is that what the fuss was? Was it that
That's one of the things where it's like, oh, you had time to add the cosmetics, but you didn't have time to do all these things. I'm just thinking it's an intern on Microsoft Paint,
spray
making
painting
skins.
Chief's fucking.
I mean, it really
armor.
betrays how little these people know about the fucking hobby they claim is their entire identity. Like, I am only games, I can't handle a life without games, but also, I've never thought about how maybe artists and not just coders work, but also coders couldn't do the artwork. Oh, and also, it's not just, like, generic banging on typewriters until game appears.
Isn't it all just lots of zeros and ones? That's what backslashes. That's it, isn't it?
I think that Halo Reddit is full of zeros.
Shocking. But yeah, I think it's out. I think it's out today.
It is today. Yeah, it's out today.
Yeah.
I mentioned last week about my kind of experiences with the Master Chief Collection and how both Reach and Halo 4 had failed me. I did give
not so Reach.
I did give Halo 4 another chance, and it worked. The level that wasn't loading after I'd come out of the game and gone back into it and stuff, it did load. And all it wasn't anything to do. It was literally just the big giant bus that I was on just kept driving around, and that was pretty much it until we got to the end of that section. But I still at some point will play a little bit of that. Do I play Halo 5? I didn't even really remember that it existed. I thought Halo Infinite was Halo 5 until I saw somewhere that Halo 5 was Halo 5. So,
which Halo is the RTS?
Halo Wars.
Yeah.
I played. Which one's the top-down one where it's like a twin-stick shooter? Which one's that?
Pass. I do not know.
Halo 64.
I think I played Halo 5.
Halo 2 Liberty City 3.
Remastered with terrible upscaling.
Halo top-down shooter. Spartan
I didn't know
Assault.
there was one.
Spartan Assault. Okay.
I played Halo, Spartan Assault, Halo 5, and the first Halo. And that's it.
Right.
So I have no affinity with the series. I don't care about the Spaceman. But I will, probably check this one out.
Spaceman is green though.
He is green.
That makes sense.
Green's an alright colour.
I mean,
probably
he's the second best colour. Alright colour.
It's probably in my top 10.
The second best colour.
Yeah, purple's the best one.
No, yellow's.
It's purple and green.
I mean, I like all the colours, so I just picked black.
Okay. Funny.
Yeah, I might go back and play Halo 5 before jumping into Infinite. Again, I've got no desire or rush to jump into Infinite, other than just
curiosity.
Just to see what it's like. Going into it being in an open world kind of structure, and I can see some of the criticisms that the reviews put out about non-replayable kind of campaign missions and those sorts of things. Sure,
I think that's coming. They said,
yeah.
Along with the co-op, as I say, it came in hot, so we're lucky we're even getting a Halo.
That's true. Yeah.
But I could see how that would be pretty fun for all the co-op people. Like, that's probably what. If you played Halo in co-op, it's like that is probably like the golden. What you want out of a Halo game, like open world kind of physicsy, Far Cry kind of nonsense in it, and So I feel sorry for those people who can't like just hop in and co-op day one. But I
mean, I've
it's free on Game Pass, so
I've played
6 USB.
I think 3 rounds of Halo something on the 360 at my neighbor who lived above me in Amsterdam's apartment. one evening.
Mm-hmm.
That's my Halo.
That's probably equivalent to my experience with the multiplayer.
Like, how am I, the non-Xbox man,
I was
you
in
are
console.
secretly
the one who
Yeah,
is
you were the most
more
Xbox
Halo
of all
than
of us.
anyone? Like,
you are genuinely the most Xbox out of us. So.
I mean, I didn't have. I got a 360 when I lived in Amsterdam, briefly, but I played Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 with a mate of mine and a couple other games, and that was basically it. And then when I got my X Bone, it was mostly to play like Titanfall and some other things with the old Ool crew.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sold it when I got a PlayStation 4 to play Battlefield with you. And now the PlayStation 4, I think, I didn't realize plastic could rust, but...
What?
Have you seen it? Is it Spirit left it years ago?
Yeah. I never owned an original Xbox because
yeah, I didn't
I had
either.
a PS2. And
Neither did I.
I did buy one once
to
hack to make into a home theater PC.
Okay,
that's pretty good.
And then I think I got it on eBay or something, and it came with MechWarrior 2. But I never put the disc in the machine. Put a different disc in the machine that wiped the ability to play games from the machine.
Yeah, because
Nice.
I just don't like space, as you both know, so it's like...
It's true.
The Final Frontier.
Well, not a fan of
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
We shall open some more beers momentarily. Well, I won't. I'm still supping away at this deep thought as my only beer for the episode. But moving on from Halo, we kind of intimated at the start of the episode we didn't have much to talk about apart from my time with some Resident Evils. Yes, I don't.
I mean, I had a brief update.
Okay. Oh no, what's it? Go for it then. I was going to have a chat about Resident Evil 7 slightly before launching into some Resi VIII chat. But no, what's your?
Why don't we do my slight update?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a kind of a tag to last week's chat, which I know you weren't here for, Lucy. But we are sort of talking about not playing games a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was tuning in. I remember.
Yeah. And so
that's
one
how
of the
I
things...
feel this last couple of weeks. How you felt it. So fully understand.
I feel like I got a few minutes here or there the past couple days around electricians and stuff to play games, and I found myself, I think partly because it was not a lot of time, I played some Forza, even though I was kind of bored with the and then ended up playing some more Moonglow Bay, even though I literally spoke last week about how something went wrong with my saving and it like the clunky UI and the lack of autosave.
Something went wrong with my saving. I overwrote my
yeah, shut up. It was bad UI as well. But the weird thing is, I was like, you know what, fuck it. I kind of just want to fish. It's been long enough. I'll just redo that stuff. And then I turned it on, and it didn't recognize my controller, and it would only recognize the enter key. But then I couldn't scroll down to hit quit game or anything when I realized the controller didn't work and had to Alt F4. And then my controller stopped working, and I was like, "Oh right, PC gaming." And so, I just reset it, and then the controller worked fine, and I reinstalled it. I should have done that in the first place, but and then it worked fine. But in the meantime, I was like, "Oh, it's not working. Maybe I deleted it and reinstalled it." And I went to the website, and it said patch notes, and the patch notes, it's like autosave when sleep. VSync, and I was like, oh, these were like my primary complaints, and then I installed it, and I don't think they've done that patch on Game Pass or something, because I installed it, and then I played a bit, I went to sleep a couple times, I'm like, I don't see an autosave slot when I go to the load save screen, and as we know, if we tuned in last week, the load save screen is literally a load save screen, and you have to pick the slot and tell it to save or load. So there wasn't an autosave thing. And then I went to the options and there wasn't VSync, and I was like, I don't get it.
Maybe because
so I might tweet them just because I'm confused.
Maybe it's a different build.
Well, and the thing is, I deleted it and reinstalled it, so I should have gotten the freshest Game Pass build. But then, what is the point of?
So they said it was. Did they say it was for PC or?
Well, so the thing is, the website just said patch.
Because sometimes
latest patch. So I think it must be an Xbox patch, and they haven't patched PC. I guess.
Yeah.
It didn't say on the website. I was just really thrown off. But I wanted to mention that mostly not because I'm complaining about the game being buggy, but just because actually it's charming, and a week away was enough for me to be like, I still want to play this.
Getting a patch up to like Steam is much quicker than Xbox, where you have to still go through cert and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wonder whether it's part of that as well. Whether potentially they have updated Steam and it just hasn't been certified by Microsoft to update the PC Game Pass version potentially.
Because it's like a whole thing where it's like you can only update so many times, and like PC you could patch it 11 times a day or something.
Well, I guess that's the thing is I assumed because it's PC that would be the easiest thing to send a patch to.
I think it's.
But it might be the Game Pass.
Yeah,
ecosystem has
the DirectX whatever build rather than the which you would gaming is hard. Development is hard.
But yeah, so that was basically it's still charming, and I mean the bits I knew what to do took less time. I didn't catch some of those random fish I caught. That's fine. Marina in the biology center will have to wait for those 2 fish or whatever. But again,
I want to get back to that. But I'll need to be in the right mood.
Yeah, I think I realized when I was like, maybe I'll play that again, that it is living in the Animal Crossing space of my brain.
Yeah, that you deserted your townsfolk.
Yeah, fuck those people. They're not even real people, they're animals. No one cares. But like in the sense of like, sometimes I just want to like hop in, hop out, do kind of nothing, and it'd be okay. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up as an extension of last week's conversation was because like I didn't have a lot of time, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but it's like, right, like playing a race. Like I said, easy drop in, drop out, and actually I just wanted to drive around the Mexico City. Whoops. I kind of just wanted to fart around, and it was like, right, I like games, and I don't have a lot of time, and I'm familiar with these games, and it's the familiarity, even though, like I spoke kind of at length last week of being like, I'm not really enamored with these games so much. It was like, actually, Moonglow Bay is the type of game that you're never going to be like, I wouldn't be surprised if most people aren't like, I'm in love with this game, I want to play this all the time, but that they would sink lots of hours in, because like I said, it lives in that Animal Crossing sort of space. While Forza, I know some people are really into it, and for me, it was just kind of like that familiarity of the first week or so I played a bunch, which means, the electrician said in an hour he's going to come and put a new light fixture in. I'll just turn on Forza and race until he gets here.
Yeah, I found myself having that relationship with Forza over the years. It's like, I just feel like playing something every now and then. It's just like, I'll stick on Forza. Play like once every 40 days or something, but, once you're in there... Once you're in there, it's just like, you can sink hours into it, so...
Well, especially now that I stole someone's tuned up build for a DeLorean. So it's an A700 tune. I drive all my regular circuit and street races in a DeLorean, and it's usually my commuter. I'm like, I got a car. And then I tried playing a dirt race and just got ruined. Absolutely ruined. Like, this is not tuned for this at all.
Yeah, I tried driving my Audi.
Oh yeah, you got your Audi. That's right.
Yeah. And then I stopped playing. Like, this is not a good car.
Oh man, I got that. Like I said, I got that like 58 or 57 Healy, which is like the very fancy, expensive version of my silly car back home. And it's so depressingly slow, and I'm like, this has almost double the horsepower of my actual car, and it's so boring to drive in this game. What am I?
I'm just a scrub.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Exactly. But yeah, so I just wanted to update that. I thought it was funny that I was kind of gave the impression that I would probably bounce off of both of those games last week. And just because I didn't have a lot of time, actually, sometimes it's that sneaky, you played a bit. Not quite sunk cost fallacy. It's actually kind of the inverse of that. It's like, it's a sunk cost cushion, right? I don't have to worry about anything. And because I know that I'm not super invested in the game, it's that mindset Ben and I were talking about last week about like, I wanted to play game. This was easy way to play game. I got enjoyment out of play game. Yes. Where play game is just like a variable state, right? Not this specific game.
Yeah. Sometimes you just feel like, don't feel like watching TV or something. You just feel like having some more interactive media and just like, I'll just play Tetris.
I never got into that.
Tetris.
I didn't even. I meant to play Tetris 99 after you spoke so efusively.
Oh, I was just talking about like Tetris.
Oh, I know. I just mean like I think it's because I've never got into Tetris in general. Like I've played a little bit. I mean, I've played enough of it to know how it works, but I've never been like a Tetris man.
Is this a hoax? I can't tell if you're being serious.
Years and years of me saying stupid jokes come to bite me in the ass. No, like I've never really got into Tetris. Surely we've talked about this before.
Are you human?
I'm a dancer.
That is genuinely shocking to me.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, I played a bunch when I got my original Game Boy, which was a co-gift from my parents or Santa to me and my two sisters, and I basically was like, yoink, because for a while there, we had Tetris because it came with the OG Game Boy.
I'm just surprised you weren't indoctrinated.
I got other games. Sorry?
I'm surprised you weren't indoctrinated from that day. Like, there is no... Tetris is life.
So I think I wasn't good at it, and I didn't quite... Like, I was young enough that I didn't get the whole, like, some of the strategy around it, so it was a lot of frustrating, like, I'm slowly making mistakes. And then since that, like, and I never knew many people who, like, liked it or played it as well, so it was a lot easier to just... I mean, if I had, like, a good friend with a link cable, because that was the original link cable game with the OG Game Boy. Oh, sorry, my heart. Just realized how old I was. But yeah, like, I might have played a bunch more, but like, I don't know. I think it's like Malpass was shocked that I don't really play chess.
Yeah, I mean, I've played chess, but it's like that requires a literal chessboard most of the time, and someone else. And yeah, it is mentally taxing.
B4 pawn.
But I've played a lot of virtual chess though. But like you said, someone said like you can only play one game now from now to the end of time. It'd be Tetris. It's like there's no desert island Tetris. Yeah, it's infinitely refinable.
You just want to live that socialist life. That's it.
I don't know what I would pick.
Yeah. You know, hail the Russians. You know? They made the best game ever made.
It would probably be Battletoads because I'd never finish it.
Oh no, don't play that. I think, Aadil, you've played enough Tetris that it made you a socialist, and you know, it gave you a love for kind of puzzle games. But yeah, I can see why it's one of those games that you would. I can see why it's one of those games that people would play in that first instance of being like, video game. I understand this. This is new and things. And then, you know, Mario, and you go, now I've moved on to something completely different. And then Tetris just kind of goes away forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Not for you, Lucy, obviously.
In front of anybody and they play it and they know how to play it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it and its soundtrack and what it's done, and it's like and the fact that to this day, like you said, it is very comprehensible, like to the point where it was one of the first. Oh no, I think there was a breakthrough. I was going to say it was one of the first games AIs learned how to play, like, but that's not true. It was the original, like 6 or so Atari games. Like, so they this was like 10 years ago. They had like neural networks, which were given no training or anything, just the algorithm, and then they were fed. They were given one input again, not like hey rules, just an input of the Atari screen, and then and the fact that they could do the controls.
Jesus.
And then they figured out all the original run of Atari games and how to beat them because the neural network figured out that the points going up was a good thing. And so just iterative, I mean, we're talking about like millions upon millions of iterations of
I'm rewatching
doing
Matrix
things and then
right
dying. But like one of the things, so the reason I brought this up is because I misremembered that subsequently Tetris was beaten by the same sort of AI or this type of neural network like a couple years later or soon afterwards. And because of course that makes sense because it's essentially the same thing, like minimal input score. And then they just like crushed it. But yeah, why I'm bringing this up is because what you're saying, Lucy, about like how you can hand it to anyone. It's like literally you can even hand it to a machine at this point, and it can figure it out, right? It is simple yet.
But does the machine
elegant.
have fun?
I mean,
is the question, Mr.
Depends
Anderson.
what if fun is just a success condition, Lucy, then yes.
Okay.
And isn't fun just a success condition?
Yes. Maybe. No.
Yeah.
Here's the philosophical man dropping in, parachuting in. I was gonna
Instantly sucked straight back out again. It's like...
Anyway, yeah. So where were we? Oh yeah, I was gonna give a brief update 20 minutes ago.
Should we open some more beers?
Yeah. I'm glad that as more time passes, everything stays the same. There were years where I didn't even play games and still managed to have 30-minute segments.
Absolutely. Let's open some beers. Lucy, what are you opening next?
I opened the beer first before reading it. Sorry.
That's alright.
It's called Veda, or
Vada?
Veda, Veda.
Oh, Veda.
Yeah, and it's from Free Hills Brewing. Spoilers, I've had this beer before.
Okay.
And I went back and bought several cans of it today because I really enjoyed it.
Oh, what kind of beer is it?
It is a single hop NEIPA, New England IPA. Here we go. Veda, or Veda, means knowledge in Sanskrit. Each edition of Veda showcases a single hop variety chosen for its unique flavour and aroma qualities. Yeah, nothing more on there really. The hop is strata though. 6.8%. Yeah. Malts are Golden Promise, Carapils, Oats Wheat, and Munich. So yeah, strata. Strata, and it's
nice.
Yeah, spoilers.
Hang on, see if we can hear this.
Veda.
Did you get that? I'll turn it right up.
Is that Google
Veda.
telling you how to say Sanskrit?
Veda.
Veda.
It is Veda.
Like
Veda.
Mr. Darth.
Veda.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Learned some Sanskrit.
That's how the lady Google says it.
Ah, good old lady Google.
Yeah, what's her name?
The latest of Boris's appointments to the peerage.
Does she have a name, Lady Google?
No.
There's Alexa and
random update.
Oh, the Google asks.
Yeah, it's just Google Assistant, right? Evelyn loves asking it questions, and she said, "What's your name?" And it just went, "I'm the Google Assistant." I was like, "Oh,
so,
cool." And it's like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Don't tell her. Don't let her collect all of the details. Just."
So
well, good. Let's keep some distance between us and like creepy robots who want to call themselves Alexa.
So I think the reason is because Google, since Google Maps years ago allowed you to pick the gender and accent like they've extended that to Google Assistant where it's the same thing, and I think that's probably why, because they'd have to have this like a really weird gender and culturally neutral name.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
But also, I like that it's not trying to be your
friend,
robot pal that's fun to be with. To paraphrase,
because it's insidious at the end of the day. I love how Microsoft named it after the evil AI who's gonna like raise a robot army.
I kind of like that, to be honest.
Yeah, I like that. I knew what they were doing, so yeah, I kind of like that. That's like We Are Evil Corporation. We'll let you know about it.
The funny thing, so I got actually almost a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Time is an illusion caused by the passage of history. Wow, I'm just having all kinds of Douglas Adams quotes coming to me. Time is an illusion caused by the passage of history, and history is an illusion caused by the passage of time. Sorry, that's just one of my favorite Douglas Adams quotes. But I got Spotify and Google were in collusion in November 2019 or 2020, and they were just like, "Hey, you have a subscription. Do you want a free Google Nest Mini?" And I was like, "Yes." And then I immediately put it on mute and turned off all of the sharing things. And so now, the only thing it can do is like people with Google phones or Spotify can play music in my room.
Yep.
And it's one of the reasons why the latest Google update pisses me off on Android, because the screencast button is now pull down the menu and swipe to the right instead of just pull down the menu, because I made all the buttons bigger. Because I use that quite a bit, because it's like, right, I can then, like, I don't have fancy speakers here. If I'm playing a game or whatever, I use headphones, but I just want to listen to music. I don't want to listen to it through my TV that is my screen. I'd rather have it in the corner and have the Nest speaker, which is decent for a thing that can't be stereo. Like, they've done really good design on it. So, like, yeah, play my Spotify over there, and also that means the volume of that is different from the volume of everything else on my PC. That's great. That's all I want.
Oh yeah, like, you know,
it's because
I just bought some normal speakers. But did you get
it was free.
You got it for a reduced,
I got it literally free.
Can't complain. Yeah.
Because I was paying for Spotify, and then and then between any of my machines with Spotify, I can just click a button or touch a button, and then be like, play it on that thing, and then it works.
Wait until it touches the old spark and kills you.
Put the cube in my chest.
Yeah.
Speaking of Transformers, Aadil, what beer are you drinking next?
I am drinking the Omicron. Oh wait, that's not Transformers. I am drinking this thing.
Oh.
It is the Imperial Pastry Stout. It is the Beer Club number 21 by Nepomucen Piwny Klub. It's it's a collab. Sorry, I know I probably butchered it. It's a Polish collaboration between two breweries.
Okay.
It's the OG. Sorry, the original gravity is 27.5 degrees Plato. It's 10% ABV. It has. I don't have a snifter. Sorry. It's a half liter of Imperial Pastry Stout. Half liter of 10%.
Yeah.
Nice. So I had another thing by Nepomucen. I don't know if it's Mucin or Mucin. A few weeks back that I enjoyed. And this is also from using credits on Beer 52's store, because I don't think they did a Polish month lately, or if they did, I don't think this was one of them. But yeah, I think I mentioned that I grabbed a bunch of random stouts. With Beer 52 points, and I was like, usually it'd be like looking for like known winners. I'm like, no, wait, they get stuff that I can't find here. Okay, what seems interesting? And I kind of just went wild with my 50% off points, and this is one of them.
Nice.
You picked a good one by the sounds of it.
Lucy, we'll come back round to you. The Three Hills, but known for their stouts, be having a NEIPA.
Yeah, it's a good NEIPA. Very murky, very, very hazy. I think it was like, it's pure mercury, really.
Nice.
Slightly looks like pond water. Probably coming off a bit more orangey on the camera.
Yeah.
It's a bit darker than that. Sort of like, probably a few shades lighter than the last beer, but it's a beautiful smell, beautiful tropical fruit smell. Yeah, not getting much more, just tropical fruits, bit of pineapple. I don't know if it's been sitting around for a bit, but it's It's not too hoppy, not too effervescent. It's a lot softer.
Okay.
I think maybe just the carbonation's probably gone because it's been sitting around for a bit, but it's very juicy. It kind of reminds me of like, not quite that juice bomb era, but probably not going for all that juice and very thick, but it definitely follows the NEIPA style where it's definitely more juice forward.
Mm-hmm.
Not much bitterness on it. But yeah, it's like Strata. I like Strata as a hop. And if you told me that it was a single hop beer with just Strata in it, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty impressive. So it is very impressive, really impressive. I wouldn't believe you. So it feels like it's got a melange of hops in it. Like, it's so fruity.
Nice.
They've really stretched that one hop. God knows how much they put in the boil. So probably 10 acres worth. So, but yeah, really fruity. Really smooth, slightly creamy. Not much bitterness. Not much hoppiness at the moment. And when I drank this last, it was just fresh from the can. It's like it's been sitting around a bit, so probably advise to drink it straight away. Yeah, reasonable temperature, but yeah, it's a really nice beer.
Nice.
Yeah, a nice bit. Was it 6.8%? So you're getting a bit of heft, slight bit of body, but yeah, it's really drinkable though. Really, medium body, but realistically, you could knock this back.
Nice. With Three Hills, the brewery who also had a series of beers called Of Juice. Does anyone remember?
Three Hills of Juice number 4, of Juice number 6. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, maybe it's not a continuation necessarily, but just a using their knowledge of making big juicy beers.
Yeah.
To put this out. So nice. I've been looking for a big juicy beer, so I shall try and find it.
I really enjoy Three Hills. They don't really talk about them much or have them much on the podcast, but I really like what they're doing. Yeah. So
nice, good. And Aadil, come back to you for the Imperial Pastry Stout. No, muted.
Should be thick.
There we go.
She do.
It's got a lovely smell of, like, I want to say, this is going to sound weird. It's like slightly coffee, but also a certain type of chocolate, which is, this is definitely influenced by the season. It's like, when you get, like,
Christmas tree chocolate.
No, it's when someone splurges
Santa
and gets
heads.
the above bog standard advent calendar chocolate.
Yeah, dairy milk.
No, normally you get the like really milky powder made from powder kind of. Oh yeah, this is technically chocolate.
Yep.
But then sometimes you get like, oh, this might actually have been chocolate once. Like that it smells exactly the same. Like it's like, oh yes, a waft of like chocolate, but not like a specific type of chocolate or like rich or dark. Just like, oh yes, this chocolate. Is generically chocolate. Not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's the wave of that chocolatiness, and then a hint of a burnt malt or roasted malt underneath. And I think it's because there's a sweetness to this. I mean, it's 10%. That's probably what that's from. Remember how, I don't know, 7 hours ago, whenever we started this, an hour ago, I was like, oh, that 6.5%, it's so thick and like clings to the mouth. That's so nice. This is like a velvety smoothness that's just on my tongue. I mean, you could tell it's 10%, but it clings really nicely. And because again, it's got this slightly coconut coffee, chocolatey vibe. All of that is really like geared down. So, that's really lovely when it's like when the beer feels like it's grabbing your tongue, like it's just so thick that it's like attached. The fact that everything's kind of like taking its time to make itself known is really good, because otherwise you could get overwhelmed by it. But yes, it's got like much more chocolate in the taste, a hint of coconut, especially near the finish. But what I'm surprised at, just because I had that sort of coffee/burnt note in the nose, I thought maybe I'd get more of that. But actually, the main taste is this like I said, this slightly coconut but kind of chocolatey. Again, darker than cheap superstore or supermarket chocolate, but not like, oh, this is dark chocolate that has a hint of blah. Like it's right, like it's just like a nice chocolatey wave.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, just
and again, this isn't a bad thing, right?
No, like if you get like chocolate from like Lidl or something like that, it's like better than just your bog standard dairy milk, but it's like, you know, a little bit more premium, tastes a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly.
Not quite your Lindt or something like that, but yeah, in the middle.
Sorry, my brain went somewhere really weird when you said Lindt. I went Lindt, belly button Lindt, and then I had a picture of a Lindt chocolate in my own hairy belly button, and I was like, no one needs to see this, Adil, not even you.
Didn't need to share it.
Lindt with the D. With the big old D.
I mean, that's NSFW if you've got the belly button and the D. Where was I?
Should we talk about Resident Evil?
I came back after 2 weeks with this.
Yeah. I'll finish talking about this, knowing that the editor is me, so I'm not going to cut this embarrassing note out. So that maltiness is there as an undercurrent, and as the chocolate and slightly sweet coconut sweetness fades, you're getting a lot more of that in the finish. Again, a really nice, simple taste curve, just like a, hey, we're going to be sweet and chocolatey, and then when that starts to fade, you'll notice that we've been kind of roasted, a little coffee afterwards. Yeah, really nice. Again, I'm surprised, given that nose of slight burnt or roasted malt, that it's like the nose is the taste. Because just at the very end, when everything's kind of fading away, you're like, oh yes, I get a little of that burnt, that little roasted malt there, but it's just as kind of like, my brain said hesitant, but that's not the right word. It's just that, like, that as removed as it was in the nose, like it's just kind of there, but so everything else has to fade away for you to really pay attention to it. Which I think is a good thing. I also like that it leaves the palate wet, like the mouthfeel, even though it's sort of going from a little burst of like sort of rich sweetness, but not very sweet, but like a richness with some sweet, and then it's sort of sloping down, that because it's not drying out my mouth, even though the taste curve is kind of a swoosh, it's still like, oh yeah, but like if I just pay attention to the taste, yeah, I'll want more, but actually I'm not going to be compelled to have some more after this. Yeah, it's just a lovely, well-balanced, and I think Lucy sort of said medium-bodied on her beer, and I think I would say this is kind of similar in that it's like a 10% pastry stout, but also nothing is like, ugh. It's all kind of like level-headed for a 10% pastry stout that is chocolatey and has some coffee notes, etc.
Because I could have made that so boozy and sweet where it's like, a bit overwhelming, but yeah, it's incredible, and they can manage that. Like some of the Amundsen beers are just like, wouldn't think they're like 11% and just full of all these, not adjuncts, well maybe they put some adjuncts in there, but when it's like, pecan maple pie, which is like something I absolutely wouldn't eat in real life probably, because it's just too sweet. I just managed to make it still drinkable. In stout form.
Just have that quality to them to be able to put those flavors across. To
be honest, what you saying that is like, oh, actually, like I would be quite okay with this level of chocolate and this level of coffee in a day as well. Like it's all like, that's what I mean by like level-headed. It's just like
Not too
really
rich,
well balanced. Which again, a beer doesn't have to be. A beer could be much more boisterous than you would want your actual chocolate or your coffee. But I like that this is kind of like, yes, we're doing all these things, and yes, this is boozy. But to be honest, except for that that clinging to the tongue immediately,
Mm.
oh, 10%, nah, couldn't be.
Yeah, fair. Nice.
I'm gonna have to check out this brewery. I mean, Poland and most of Eastern Europe do really good stouts. So it's like,
Yeah.
well,
But I can't remember what I had by Nepomucen.
Yeah, I remember you having them. So it was definitely.
I don't think it was a
weeks ago.
stout. I think it was a Wow. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Because I've just finished talking.
Nice, cool. You did come back in a moment with the beer that you've had, but yeah, I'm going to chat a little bit about Resident Evil 8 because I really like it. But first, to tee this up, a little bit of Resident Evil 7 because I've kind of been bashing my head against it for a little while. I started it months ago. I started it this year, I think.
Okay.
But I'd picked it up and I put it down, I picked it up and I put it down, I picked it up and I put it down. And it's only the last kind of week, knowing that I had Resi VIII coming, that I decided to pick it back up and jump back into it. And kind of instantly was reminded about why I kind of put the game down. It starts off kind of incredibly slowly. Doesn't really introduce you to characters very well. You know, Resi has this good kind of history to it of kind of, yes, drip feeding you little bits of these characters as the game kind of goes on and leaving them sort of open. But you know from that first kind of cutscene who all of the characters are in the first Resi game, what, you know, who you're playing as, what's going on, the situation. 7 opens up.
Jill sandwich, yeah.
Resi 7 opens up just a lot slower. It kind of takes so long to get into, and then when you do meet the characters that you're going to be fighting and stuff, they're there for like 30 seconds, then they're gone again. You're like, oh, okay, who are these people? What's going on? You know, Resi's always got an air of mystery about it, about actually what is happening in these kinds of games. But it was just really slow, and then instantly like, here's some people, but goodbye. And like, oh, brilliant! Yeah. All right, I'll just wander around this little kind of, swamp house again for a bit, and the palette is really limited in terms of its kind of like colouring and things, so it's just very a little bit. It's so dry, and it was just kind of it just didn't hit with me whatsoever.
May I posit that I've seen. I'm never going to play these games, so I watch playthroughs of them. Just from an observation, I don't know if this reflects with what you think. It seems like, because Resident Evil 7 was just a big overhaul for the series.
Yep.
You know, first person, and I think they were just very much drawing on the. It sounds funny to say survival horror because they pretty much, birthed that kind of genre, but they're very much like Outlast-y, kind of like, amnesia, very tense, building up the tension, sort of like, traditional horror where it's like, you don't see what's about to come, you hear about it, and it's like, it has a more slow pace, and then it gets into it. Whereas with Resident Evil 8, it feels like they're just like, yeah, you like the first game in this like series. You you didn't just like review bomb it and hate it across the board. We're just gonna go silly and over to the top like Resident Evil 4 now. It's like it retains none of that DNA, like that survival horror DNA. It's just like, we're gonna get you shooting werewolves. It's basically Castlevania without the whip.
Yeah. And I think this is the big difference with how 8 has drawn me in. Absolutely, they have gone. We've already put you in this first-person perspective, and we've tried this kind of idea where someone stalks around a building after you in 7, and that does bring a very slow pace to the game, whereas 8 opens you up, and yes, there is the inevitable kind of opening of the game where you're with it for a few minutes and stuff happens, and then it kind of launches you into actually sort of playing. A lot of that happened kind of whilst you didn't have to move around and stuff, whereas with 7 you're moving through that initial sort of thing, which is why it's so slow. It's like, oh, I'm driving and talking a bit. Now I'm the one walking around, and oh, here's a house, or let's go around here, or let's see what this is over here, or let's go into now let's go into the house, and blah 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 blah, and you hit these steps. Whereas 8 is like, some stuff's happening. Walk through this bit. Oh, with their building tension. Oh shit! Now I'm just being fucking attacked by all of these like werewolf men. Brilliant. And now I've got like a gun and 4 bullets, and I just have to navigate that thing. 8 absolutely throws you straight in to that, but it paces.
They ice his wife in like the first 2 minutes. So
exactly, but they pace the game in a way that they do slow it back down, and you have then that being stalked around the castle by Lady Dimitrescu. Everyone, and again, I thought it was Dimitrescu, but it's Dimitrescu as everybody pronounces it kind of in the game. But you're stalked by her and her daughters, through the castle. That does come. They put that back into it, but they, I think, have paced it much better in this game than they did in 7, or at least in the opening at 7. And I think I put in the Discord that I'd played more of 8 in one sitting than I had of 7 in all of the times I tried to go back to it. And it just grabbed me and captured me. And whilst it's not a limited kind of colour palette, it is quite sort of set, especially when you're walking kind of around the village, but it changes things, because you're outside. It changes kind of like the time of day, so there is a little bit of variation there. That there's snow suddenly, and there's lots of different things that they do around that, which does change the environment enough. And then you get into the kind of the castle, Lady Dimitrescu's castle, and it's opulent and full of colour and loads of detail, and it looks beautiful. And you are stalked around these corridors by her. And it changes that up. Suddenly you're not like, oh, werewolf pop. But I've got to a point now where I've got through that stage, and you go back to the village, and it again gets you back into that more actiony werewolf. And I'm now in another place to go to fight the next kind of lord of the area of the village, and it slowed it right down again. And in this section, it's changed it up a little bit, in that the area, the castle was massive. Tons of rooms, loads of ways for me to kind of move about it, and go, oh, here's an elevator, which take me back down to the entrance, and linking of spaces. This one seems a lot smaller, but they've thrown cupboards that you can get into in it. And I don't know whether that's just to make you shit your pants and think that something big and bad is going to, again, stalk you around the rooms, and you actually have to hide from it, because they've taken your gun. They've taken all my guns away as well.
Is this the bit of the creepy little person?
The little doll. Yes.
Okay.
So I've only started to uncover what this area is. But again, it's harking back to that kind of slower pace, being stalked around, quiet, incredibly quiet spaces where you walk and you'll turn and you might brush up against something. You're like, what's that noise? What was that? Is there something kind of... Because I'm playing with headphones on as well, everything is like here. So it does really well in just building that tension in these slow areas, and I'd be interesting to see how this area is a little bit different to the castle, and then again how the next going to fight that lord, how their area is going to be that little bit different again. So it's an intriguing game. It's compelling as well. I'm much more involved in kind of what's going on, even though Ethan is the fucking wettest. Just he's shit. He's so shit.
It's honestly like, just from an outsider looking at it, it seems like a game that has an absolutely identity crisis, but it's like you hear so many people, speak highly of it, laud it. I mean, I think many people had it as their like game of the year for ages. So it's like it seems like something that could have gone completely the opposite way, where it's like, this is just a mess, a tonal mess. But it seems like the strength of the gameplay is what brings it up. So, and maybe that kind of like, you don't know what's around the next corner because it is switching, from the different paces, is what propelled people through the game and really enjoy it. So
completely. And
I'm
I
glad
think
like common, just throwing weird ideas at Resident Evil.
Yes.
Some hit, some don't. But like Resident Evil 2 remake was my favorite game that year. So yeah, it's good to see.
And it's interesting to see how they've evolved as well from from those, not the remakes but from the originals. How this and the pacing has kind of gone. Whereas one was or 1 to 3 say were a little more sort of tension building, exploration, puzzle based with those combat encounters in them, and then 4 to 6 went very action heavy, and 7 and 8 have tried to find sort of almost a middle ground. Yes, changing the perspective to first person, but they've tried to find that middle ground between them, and 8 has ramped much more up into the levels of Resident Evil 4 than 7 did. 7 felt very kind of, I've got a gun, but I will very rarely use it. Whereas 8 is, here is a gun.
Old school, yeah.
8's, here's a gun, upgrade it. Yes, you're conserving ammo, you're combining items to give you ammo and things like this, but it feels much better and more Resi than 7 kind of did, which limited when you were using your weapon to kind of boss encounters almost, which were the only kind of combat encounters I was having.
That seems like the real Resi though, when it's ammo conservation, and 7 took it back to its roots, as in, back to like 1 and 2 and 3, where it's like, ammo conservation and puzzles, very puzzle heavy.
Yes,
Whereas this is going back to like, as you say, 4, 5, and 6, which, I'm glad that they've taken the risk on these things. I mean, they maybe probably had to after like 6, but it's, like, there's been so many Resident Evil games, and they do, switch up the formula more so than most big publishers with a
absolutely
long-running mainline series. So I gotta give them props for that. But Jesus Christ, do Dino Crisis eventually, please.
It's the biggest crime in
new
gaming.
IP. Yeah,
what
do some new
next?
IP.
We
Either do new IP or Dino Crisis. But if you're gonna mine old IP, why are you not mining the best of the old IP?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Makes no sense.
And more than likely, you'll get a new Dino Crisis. It will just be a first-person shooter.
Oh yeah, starring Chris Pratt.
It'll be Turok, right?
Lord.
Chris Pratt will be like, "It's
Hurt
me,
me,
Mario. I mean, Turok Man. I mean, what am I being paid for this? That much? Shit. I thought this was a Jurassic. It's not a Jurassic. How much? Yeah. Anyway,
I think they've got, like, if they wanted to, they could throw out a Dino Crisis remaster, right, in the same vein that they did sort of 2 and 3. But they could throw out a new Dino Crisis using the engine that they've got, because one of the things with 8 is that it's, and I don't know whether this is because I've got a new TV as well, and it's got all of the HDR sort of stuff kicking in, but it is so. The lighting is so intense.
Their engines are really good.
Yeah. And they're really,
which is the key to horror, right?
Yeah,
like,
completely. They play with light and dark so well. The radiuses of you've got some candles, and you know that the radius is sort of this, and then you've got your torch, and you can sort of see 2 meters in front of you, and that's kind of, and it reflects off of certain things and dulls in certain things. It's really, really good at those slow and even the fast-paced kind of areas. Even when you're in the daytime, those transitions between coming inside and outside of buildings as well. You see the light, and your eyes, not your eyes, but the screen adjusts to make it feel like you've just gone into a room and things.
I think it's very telling that you said your eyes, because what you're saying is the lighting system is so immersive that you have been tricked into thinking you're doing dilation, right?
Yep, absolutely.
That's amazing. That's
really
exactly
good.
what you want from a modern lighting engine, because we can do that now.
I mean, their engine is fantastic. Like, just the way everything looks, like the character models and everything. But yeah, the lighting's really good. Like, Resident Evil 2, fantastic. Like, that is my touchstone recently for their modern output of games.
Right.
And yeah, it looks incredible.
And that's what Resi 2 remake is 3 years old now.
2019, so yeah.
Okay, 2.
Yeah, almost, because it came out early that year.
Nuts. I mean, it's one of those that Capcom, as you said, Lucy, is just doing some insane shit with Resi, and it's great that they've just gone, just kind of do what we want with it. Like, give it to this team and just see what they do. Because
they were really poor at the start of the last generation. They were not doing anything, and it's like
they didn't know what. This definitely feels like they struggled when they didn't think they were going to struggle, and they really did the market. To be honest, the market research on why the fuck do people like our games? Because like the switch between 7 and 8, I haven't played either of them, but I'm just talking about like the way people have described them is like 7 was interesting and it was a really good return to form in some ways, but actually 8 is the like put it into my veins nostalgia buff of what people remember or wanted. Like it's not actually how the games that actually played. It's like, what if you only had to play the highlight reel of your memories of Resident Evil? I think is at least that's what it seems like it's been described, right? And you've been saying like, oh yeah, it just happens, and it's like, oh, none of the old games actually just happened, but we only remember certain parts of games, and they realized that they could make a game literally preying upon the idea that we think that like consumers who are fans of the franchise think Resident Evil always was like this, but it wasn't. And so then this becomes the quintessential Resident Evil game, even though it isn't. And it's just like, oh, I mean, and there's the only way you get there is by being shrewd, but they didn't not make a good game, so it doesn't matter.
Because I know you listened to the besties, Aadil, didn't they?
I was just saying that's
that
part
was like, that was like, I don't know if it was recency bias on their behalf, but I was like, they really like this game. And it's like, from an outsider looking in, I don't understand that. I'd probably have to play it to understand it.
See, I never really got into the theory. Yeah. I mean, but this is what I'm saying is like, I've read other articles and stuff. This is why I think it's why it works is because it's, hey, my mental highlight reel of Resident Evil games is like this series of intense moments, and they realized that they could design a game that is essentially the series of intense moments without as much of the drive around, have a gun, take a gun away stuff, which in film is really important, right? Pacing and like lulls to make because you aren't interacting, so you have to be lulled into, oh fuck, what just happened, right? When a jump scare or a shift happens. But with games, you're already so much more immersed that actually they figured out the lead time between being lulled into that false sense of security or just being surprised or being okay with, and now we're doing this, and these shifts is very different, especially in modern gaming. And I think that's what they did, right? Yeah. And this is me just like meta aggregating things I've learned about the game.
No, that's fine.
I'm riffing off of what Ben said.
Yeah, so I think where I prefer these games is the more traditional survival horror, like very you're in a mansion or you're in a police station or,
Yeah.
or something like that, and
You are
I think
trapped in a house.
yeah, that kind of like Metroidvania kind of thing
Yeah.
where it's like, I need this key, and only when I get this key, and that kind of puzzly element to it. That's where I like the games, and that's why I like it, Not fell off. Well, Resident Evil has never been my series, so I haven't played all of them. It's like never had that desire to.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I like Dino Crisis, which is Resident Evil with dinosaurs. So I like
But
that
it's
kind
not
of.
though, right? It's
It
like
is. It absolutely.
but no, but I mean, it's like tank controls and the same engine, but it's not really the same. Like
It is, but it's better because it has dinosaurs.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, Dino Crisis. I didn't ever like you're not like feeling as stalked and you're
You are,
afraid
the
because of the
T-Rex.
action. I think more than the dread. I guess is the
No,
difference.
I still feel that dread. Like I replayed Dino Crisis like last year or something.
Okay, well then I'll take your word for it because I haven't played it since I got it on the PSP when I hacked the PSP.
Like
Hack the PSP.
Yeah, I like dinosaurs. My
I
opinion, because I'm blinded by the cool dinosaurs. So,
Yeah, but Dino Crisis seems like the next perfect thing for them to lean into, and they've got the engine there to use. And at some point, obviously, with them putting out 2 and 3 remakes, doing 7 and 8, they'll do a 9. You would imagine for Resident Evil is kind of the next mainline sort of game. But they haven't really got anything, and they're doing kind of that episodic one that came out a couple of years ago as well.
Revelations.
Yeah, Revelations. So they're playing around with other bits too. But you would think that at some point they go, right, we're not maybe taking a break from Resi, but we've got nothing else to remaster. We're just going to be working on.
They're going to run out, aren't they?
We're just going to be working on 9.
Have you heard of the remaster?
Well, they've got VR, 4 in
That's what-
VR.
That's what.
4 is the
Yeah,
next
I
one
was
they
saying.
suggested they're going to remaster.
Yeah, they're gonna remaster all of them, and then by the time they get back to 1, it'll be like, but the volumetric lighting is so much better after the remaster of 9 that we
But
can
come on.
remaster. We can
They're doing 4 for
remaster.
sure.
They're
But
gonna
are they
3-master things. They're gonna remaster it a 3rd time.
I
at
can
least.
absolutely see them remastering 5, but 6.
Or just leave 6. Just leave 6
Oh, no.
alone. Just don't worry about 6.
Yeah.
No, they'll hire the fuckers who did the GTA remasters to do that one. They just need to check it off the list. They don't need to put money into it. Like, it doesn't have to be good. No one's gonna care. But if they don't do it, some asshole on Reddit is gonna be like, "Well, I wanted to play the whole series all the way through on my Xbox One XS." I don't even know if that's a system anymore. 1X or 1S? Oh, that's what.
1 triple X.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But like they'll remaster all of them, but I don't think they'll put that much
I could
effort
see
into
them doing
the.
a 5 and 6, like just a remaster, not a remake.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Bundle
Yeah,
them
yeah.
together and put them on Switch, and they look terrible. So yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, it's because it's on the Switch."
Capcom, if you're listening, I really like Resident Evil 8. Remake Dino Crisis, please. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for. Yeah. I'd be
Done. It's coming now. That's it.
Yeah.
We've set the wheels in motion.
They'll eventually run out of Resident Evil, so they will have
Yes,
to.
they will have to. They'll have to
No,
go back to
I
something.
mean,
They'll pick something else probably.
They'll be like, you can play as Leon Kennedy. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Regina's dead. Doesn't matter.
It's like, yes, it's the new Resident Evil remaster of Mario Kart.
Yes, that's it.
You can play as Leon.
Resident Evil kart races or
Yeah,
something instead.
Oh.
Something completely different.
I mean, at least it's not Konami's fucking pachinko machines yet.
Yet. Let's finish there.
Games again. But
I know. That's kind of why I mentioned it, because I'm so happy that Konami realized that their IP was worth more than pachinko games.
I think they just had a big. They must have
Having
a big
some of the
restructuring.
most valued properties in one of the biggest industries in the world
it's only
might
because
be worth.
they can't go to pachinko halls.
That's
why they're
true.
making games. They're like, oh crap.
Oh no, that's right. The
We-
newest Konami games are going to be virtual pachinko halls with the virtual The new Metal Gear
inside
game.
A bit
Fortnite.
too cynical.
Oh, yeah.
They'll make it a Metal Gear, but you have to
Yeah.
like buy cosmetics for
No.
Metal Gear.
You're gonna play as Solid Snake, and then your first mission is to go into a building, and it's a pachinko hall, and then the only machine you're allowed playing, unless you unlock other ones, is the Metal Gear one, and then you're like, this Metal Gear one sucks. But I can play the Sonic the Hedgehog one because they paid Sega a little bit to have a Sega Sonic pachinko machine, and then you're just there as Solid Snake, being like,
You can buy a Raiden skin for the dick turret on Metal Gear. Just stick it on there.
what is life? I don't even know anymore.
It's nuts. Let's finish for this week and talk about the beers that we have drank this evening. I really enjoyed this Deep Thought. The vanilla did come through as I was drinking it. It's definitely there. I think it was more that the beer, as a first sip, gives you that big chocolatey, really big roasted and bitter notes on there. But as you drink it and your palate becomes a little more aware, that vanilla sweetness does come through, and that bitterness just drops down a little bit. But really nice, really easy to drink. I've sopped it over about an hour and a half, so it's one that kind of sat with the flavour lingering very nicely afterwards. I haven't felt the need to knock back. So another good stout from Good Chemistry that I will look to pick up again, definitely. Lucy, 2 beers, which I think we probably know the answer to this week, but you had Birmingham Beer or Birmingham Brew Co.
Company.
No, Birmingham Brewing, which is they colloquially refer to themselves as Brummie Brewery. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna give it to them. I really like the Strata single hop one from the Veda from Free Hills. I really like that beer, but I don't know what it is. It's just it's not what I was expecting. Probably not exactly what it says on the tin. It's just really good. Like it's a really. I hate calling it a lager because it's not meant to be a lager, but it tastes like a very. If this was on cask, I'd get several pints of this. It tastes like one of those beers where it's like, yeah, you're at the pub, you want something on cask. I think it's a bit more, zippy because it is in the can, but it's like, very malty, very bready. It had that like smell of like fresh bread almost on the aroma.
Yeah.
Just very biscuity, bit malty, and yeah, it's just really, really good lager / blonde ale.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it proved me wrong completely. I thought it was for the Three Hills as a chew.
Yeah, it's a really good beer, but I think it's like maybe how your mood takes you, but it's just like maybe because it just inverted my expectations completely. Like this is not what I was expecting, but it's still really good. Maybe that's where it's just one for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. As I say, nice aroma to it as well. Looks a bit strange, especially for a blonde ale, but I really enjoyed it.
Good,
like,
excellent.
I haven't had one of their beers in a while, but yeah, I want to go back to their tap room because they do a lot on cask. Sometimes, like yeah, I would definitely ask for this. So, yeah, really plot twist.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, I'd advise you to get the Veda. Unless you want a completely different beer to what is a blonde ale, so if we have to mark things down, it's for not quite what I was expecting. But it tastes like a good lager. Yeah, good beer at the end of the day.
That's great.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Nice. Aadil, what are you going with this week?
It's tough this week. I really enjoyed both beers. The Texas Sunday Morning was simple and effective. It had 3 hops. the Idaho 7, the Citra, and the Amarillo, and they all worked really well together. It sort of had this punch is a strong word. It had this start of this like lovely citrusy, sweet citrus with a hint of a citrus tartness, but not like a grapefruit, and then it faded away and allowed a little more rich bitterness to come through. But I think I have to give it to the Imperial Pastry Stout Beer Club 21 from Nepomucen Piwny Klub. I did say I'd look it up, and episode 290, I had the Nepomucen's. It was their rich yuzu NEIPA, which I was like really pleasantly surprised by, because it was like you could taste the juice, but it had some nuance, and it was really interesting. I can't remember if I picked it over whatever else I had, but I'm gonna give it to this collaboration just because, again, it's this 10% stout. They called it pastry stout. I kind of get why, but actually it was just very drinkable. You got the chocolate and slight coconut. You got some coffee and some roastedness, but it was just very drinkable and without being plain. Like the plainest thing about it is the chocolate notes are kind of like rich chocolate, not like fancy chocolate. But like, yeah, it flowed really well. It was interesting. It only betrayed its strength because of just how velvety it is, because of the alcohol. But everything else was just really drinkable. But you could tell that alcohol was helping stitch things together. It wasn't just like, this is a boozy drink for no reason. Like, it all just felt really tasty and really, really excellent. And I think the key there is that slight coconut to give a bit of sweetness at the beginning of the taste, and then that slight roastedness of the malts to just even it out, to give you a longer finish, such that you didn't need to go back, even though like most of the taste was, like I said, that hit of sort of chocolatey, slight sweetness. Because you had that longer finish, because it's just a little more refined, you weren't forced to be like, I don't have anything on my palate, I will refresh. Which for a 10% beer is dangerous, right? I just think it's just really well made. Really tasty. I could easily, as Lucy said with hers, have several of these, but you probably shouldn't, because it's quite boozy. But but the thing is, it's not boozy at all. Like, again, it just tastes really good, and it's a sweet, the quote unquote sweet spot of stouts for me, where it's boozy but doesn't taste boozy, but there's a reason for it, which is like that's the trifecta I want, right? I love rich boozy stouts, but I'm quite happy with them not saying, hey, I'm boozy up front. Which is usually a tall order, but this collaboration just did it kind of effortlessly, and so I'm giving it to them.
I know what you mean. That's why I like brew up beers, because they're very soft and they're very drinkable despite being high alcohol. So I'm more in the camp of like, I don't want things to be too rich and boozy, because that's just not my palate or taste anyway. So yeah,
like I just took
that feels full and light.
I took a reasonably large sip because I know we're ending soon. But I've had about, like, as we're wrapping up, I had a third of this beer left because I didn't need to grab it, and it's like I'm enjoying it, and that's great.
Yeah.
Even though I'm saying it has quite a tight sort of taste footprint. I think that's like I said, it's just a tough needle to thread. Anyway, that's my pick.
Good, nice. If you, listener, viewer, friend, would like to let us know about the beers that you've been drinking or the games that you've been playing, if you're enjoying Resident Evil 8 or even 7, or you've got a stout to recommend to any of us, you can do so in lots of different ways. We are at Tanked Upcast over on Twitter, or you can join us on the Out of Lives Net Twitter as well. I'm at Nova_47. Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9.
And
on
Aadil
Untapped.
Yeah.
As we just talked about how Lucy's like, nope, fuck you people. I'm at the Omniarch on all of the things.
Perfect. And if
including thingy that I've literally in this episode, because I was trying to figure it out, I have made myself private, so you can't add me to my Untapped. But I am the Omniarch on Untapped. You just I'm just invisible to you now.
Nice. I think we're Tanked Up Cast on Untapped as well, although we
are,
haven't updated it for maybe 3 years, something like that. Perhaps.
Because I was on trying to figure out for Lucy what the privacy things were. I have 3 friends on Untapped. I have Ben, Lucy, and the Tanked Up Untapped.
Brilliant.
Well, you
So
need.
at least
I will
we
never
can
judge
see.
your ratings.
Yeah, we can see what your ratings are at least. Yeah, I mean, if you'd like to be Aadil's friend on Untapped and see him never post much of anything,
No, I've made it
over
private.
there,
You can't.
then you could always try and request him. But
You can just die in a fire.
yeah. If you'd like to join us on the daily and talk about beers and video games, you can join our Discord as well, the Out of Lives Discord, and shoot one of us a message, and we will send you a link. Or you could go to outoflives.net, which is where we put all of the stuff that we produce about gaming and entertainment, and click on one of the podcast's pages, and there is a link to the Discord there. You can also use that site to listen to all of our episodes, or go to the YouTube channel to look at our beautiful faces and see the beers that we are drinking as we describe them. Exactly. Perfect example. Or, as some of you may do, you can join us, Out of Lives Network, on Twitch each and every week when we record live. You could probably, if you want, I don't know whether there's enough time, but we're going to be doing our end of year show at the weekend, and I imagine we will stream it as we go. It's probably going to be a bit of a big one.
I don't know why I thought that we would.
We don't have to.
No. I'm just saying. I don't know why. I don't.
I also was like,
It's just
where are we going to do this? Can we stream it? I don't know.
But
that's fine.
It's that time of year. It's that time of year where we'll be doing our end of year show, which will not come out, I imagine, for a couple of weeks. Normally we drop it in between Christmas and New Year, because we will have the week off.
I think that's where my brain was.
Yeah. So we'll record it live at the weekend, but it won't come out for like 2 weeks after that. But you can then listen to us talk about all of our favourite games over the last year, probably over some, maybe not bigger, but over a bigger selection of beers, as we probably have sort of 3 or 4, depending on how long we go for.
I mean,
I assumed it was going to be an 8-hour.
It's going to be a 10-minute podcast. We might all agree this year we get best game of the year.
It's like done. That's it. Best game. Cool. Bye.
Top game. Nope. We disagree. Sorry, folks. Bye. Oh, you want to know what they were? No. We all just had a piece of paper out front, and we all looked at it, and we weren't the same, so we couldn't agree on a thing.
It's
not Hades this year, folks. It's not Hades.
It's quiet, man. Every year.
As it should be. Don't worry about joining us for that episode. You know what the answer is. But you probably should. And you should probably go to your podcast service of choice and rate, review, share with a friend, do all of those things that service allows you to do.
Yeah, and if you're watching us on YouTube, like, subscribe, but mostly the algorithms are shit. Interact in a way on the medium of choice. If you're on a podcatcher, try and review us. If you're on YouTube, try and comment below telling us whether you agree with our Resi things or opinions or whatever, or like which beer you would like to have, even if you're on the other side of the world, because I know we do have listeners all over. But yeah, that helps with the ye old algorithms, but also because there's going to be some pedant. I know that the Y in Old English is pronounced the, so there's no the old, ye old. It's just the old. But purpose of comedy, fuck off.
Ye old.
Ye oldie.
I'm
ye oldie
English.
doesn't. No one has ever said ye oldie except people mocking the past.
Except The Simpsons, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm English. I don't know what you're talking.
I mean, you know all the languages, Lucy. Surely you know.
Yeah, but not
you know old English.
English, no.
Fictional old English.
I wasn't born that far back. I was born on St. George's Day in St. George's Hospital, but that's about as far as English as I get.
The most British of all of us.
I am, yeah.
The only thing I will finish on with Resi VIII, they all speak very good English.
Isn't
Like
it
the
set in like
zombies?
It's set
Romania?
in like Central Europe.
Yeah, but that's a
Yeah.
bit of the the fictional conceit. Do you think they're speaking English, or do you think that the narrative is translating for you?
To be honest, people in Romania probably speak better English than we
So
do.
why I say this is because some games and things will pretend like they're doing the we're just translating, but then they put someone who clearly doesn't know the local language in, and they all converse fine. It's like no, you can't get away with that. Like I'm fine with you translating for audience, but then you have to make it clear that's what you're doing.
Isn't there a plot device in like Star Trek where it's like
The universal translator.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you
Although
go.
early Star Trek actually had them have to feed it through, which I really enjoyed.
Well,
But then by the time of TNG, it's just yes, we have a universal translator, and also it live edits the mouth movements of the people we talk to on the visuals, such that when they go, hi, it looks like hi, even though technically something is translating them saying hi, and they could be like, "Roar." Also, I
Worf
swear
is
it
a
has
werewolf, is he not? Like, you know.
werewolf.
I need to go.
They're the beers, they're the
werewolf.
games, they're the places you can find us. We will catch you next week. We've been tagged up. Bye bye.
Cheers.
Kills me. I need to toilet.
Oh man, my brain went to so many different places with werewolf. I'm like, oh, they definitely have a games night on the Enterprise where they play werewolf. And it's like Wesley's like, oh, I got the Worf card. I have to be Worf.
The best bit about The Next Generation is when they do that holodeck episode, and Worf's dressed up in his red Robin Hood costume, and he goes, "I am not a merry man."
Yes, a classic. All right.
www.outoflives.net